Lan Bai is beautiful, and anyone in the Shi family can see that. She has smooth and radiant skin, a well-proportioned oval face, almond-shaped eyes always brimming with a smile, and a slight upturn of her lips, which instantly disarms people. Lan Bai's last name isn't Shi. She belongs to the Liang family. Her aunt, Madame Liang, is the wife of the eldest son of the Shi family. The Liang family is also a prominent local clan, but they lack descendants. Lan Bai's father passed away from a severe cold, exacerbated by the incompetence of a Western doctor who prescribed the wrong medicine. During troubled times, peace is hard to come by. Supported by her aunt, Lan Bai sold off their land and house and moved to Hangzhou to live with her. Unfortunately, within just half a year of Madame Liang's brother's passing, her husband encountered misfortune. He traveled from Nanjing by plane but tragically crashed into a mountain during heavy fog, with no survivors. Madame Liang underwent a drastic change in temperament, losing her former cheerfulness. She moved with her niece to Mayhall to live. Mayhall is a 3-room building next to the garden, with its own entrance, offering tranquility. It's named after the large plum tree in the flowerbed. After these events, Madame Liang grew a distaste for all things Western. She forbade Lan Bai from attending the Western school, keeping her confined at home to focus on needlework. Because of her simple attire during the day, Lan Bai's appearance tonight surprises everyone. She stands there in a sheer lavender qipao adorned with gold flakes, paired with high heels. A platinum bracelet with scattered diamonds adorns her left wrist, reflecting a dazzling light under the lamp. As radiant as a rose. Yet, despite her elegance, she still appears somewhat restrained. Both the qipao and the jewelry are from Shi Hui, and even the perfume sprayed behind her ears and on her wrists belongs to her. Shi Hui, the daughter of the second branch, accustomed to being pampered, has taken a liking to Lan Bai. Shi Hui, dressed in moon-white silk pajamas, with her pant legs rolled up high, revealing her calves without a care in the world, and a bunch of hair rollers on her head. She acts as if she has discovered a new world, pulling Lan Bai forcefully to the large dressing mirror. "You should have dressed like this earlier. Later, let's go downstairs together. I bet none of my brother's girlfriends can surpass you." A blush tints Lan Bai's cheeks as she lowers her head. Shi Hui's brother, Shi Fan, is currently studying abroad and has returned home for a visit during the holiday. Taking advantage of this, Shi Hui organized a party and invited her brother and her classmates and old friends, all modern young people. As Shi Hui predicted, once Lan Bai made her appearance at the party, she attracted many gazes. Despite her glamorous attire, her demeanor exudes the elegance cultivated in a traditional household, giving off a unique aura. Shi Fan strides over to her, assessing her for a moment before saying, "From afar, I saw the silhouette of a beauty. Never thought it would be you. Lan Bai, care for a dance with me?" He extends his hand to her. Lan Bai's eyes brighten slightly, but her voice lowers. "I'm not very good at dancing." Shi Fan replies, "Then let's dance the simplest steps. I'll lead you. What's there to fear?" He speaks with such confidence, as if everything is under control. And so, they dance. Shi Fan's fingers lightly rest on Lan Bai's waist. Not intrusive. They are quite close, making Lan Bai too nervous to raise her eyes to look at him, her heart pounding like a drum. But she hears his deep voice. "Lan Bai, you're clever. Not a single misstep in your dancing." As the music ends, Lan Bai's breathing is slightly labored. Shi Fan smiles at her and raises his glass to chat with other friends. Lan Bai takes a few steps back, her gaze unintentionally following Shi Fan. Seeing him shining among the crowd, she feels both happy and melancholic. As she looks up, she notices the maid Yuner waving to her urgently from the terrace, looking worried. Lan Bai hurries over, accidentally bumping into a man in a suit on the way. She instinctively leans back, but the man pulls her back in time to prevent her from falling. She thanks him hastily without getting a clear look at his features. Seeing her approach, Yuner breathes a sigh of relief. "Madam is looking for Miss Biao. She wanted to eat shrimp dumplings earlier and couldn't find you in the plum hall." Lan Bai nods understandingly and follows Yuner out. She says, "I'll go back to my room and change, then go see Auntie. Later, please return these clothes and shoes to Miss Air." As Lan Bai speaks, She suddenly feels a pang in her heart and looks back along the way she came. The entire building is brightly lit, as if it's on fire. A wide stone staircase leads up to the curved terrace in front of the building. Standing on the terrace, leaning against the stone railing, is a man, but he's not Shifan. Madame Liang sat on the old-fashioned sofa with a high backrest, her dark green Hangzhou silk dress appearing almost black in the dim light. Lan Bai turned on the lamp and tucked 2 black silk xiang embroidery pillows with a 1-character pattern behind her aunt's waist, making her more comfortable. Not wanting to lie, Lan Bai spoke honestly to her aunt. "I went to see the festivities earlier, which caused you to worry. It's my fault." Madame Liang's gaze fell on Lan Bai's feet, wearing moon-white embroidered satin soft-soled shoes. She sighed softly. "Is a fan here?" Lan Bai replied, "Yes, he's here." Madame Liang beckoned Lan Bai to sit beside her, saying, "You're a good child. Living with me has made you constrained." Lan Bai's face turned pale instantly. She hurriedly knelt beside her aunt's legs. "Auntie, how can you say that? If it weren't for you taking care of me these past few years, I would have been devoured by those scheming relatives. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, Auntie." This was not an exaggeration. Although Mr. Liang had no other children, there were still a few relatives who were eyeing their family estate. Madame Liang furrowed her brows slightly and held Lan Bai's hand. Her health was poor, and any sudden movement would trigger a violent coughing fit, just like now. Yuner, who was standing nearby, hurried to fetch water. After Madame Liang had caught her breath, she asked Lan Bai to rise and said, "Child, it was just a passing remark. I didn't mean to make you worry." Lan Bai leaned against her aunt's side, her long lashes damp. "I was afraid that you wouldn't want me." Madame Liang closed her eyes for a moment before saying, "I'm just worried about my health and what will become of you in the future." "Forget it. There's still some time." Lan Bai felt uneasy hearing this and called out to her aunt. Madame Liang made a sound of acknowledgement but didn't continue speaking. Lan Bai said, "When I arrived, I asked Yuner, and there are shrimp in the kitchen, bought early this morning, but they may not be very fresh now. How about having dumplings tomorrow? I'll make some vegetarian roast goose and pumpkin cake." Madame Liang didn't eat outside food, and Lan Bai had been with her for so long that she was very skilled in cooking. After Lan Bai finished speaking, Madame Liang opened her eyes and nodded slightly. Lan Bai took her leave and went to the kitchen to busy herself. Once she left, Madame Liang instructed Yuner, "Fetch Mrs. Fu, and then go tell Madame Eyre. Ask her to come over tomorrow. I have something important to discuss with her." Mrs. Fu was an old servant of the Liang family. When Madame Liang dismissed the servants, she chose to keep her. Mrs. Fu had a round body and moved and spoke very slowly. When she came to the Shi family, the servants found it strange that such a sluggish person was still retained by the master's family. However, she had her hidden talents. Mrs. Fu didn't come empty-handed. She brought a rattan box and slowly placed it on the 8 immortals' table before speaking, "Madam, everything's here." She had the skill of keeping accounts, and there had never been any mistakes in the books she managed. Madame Liang picked up a booklet from a Shanghai paint shop, glanced at it briefly, and then put it down again. She spoke gently, "The situation is not good. I intend to exchange all of Lan Bai's property for gold bars. According to your estimation, how much can we exchange?" Mrs. Fu thought for a moment before giving a number. Madame Liang said, "Then let's proceed this way." As the mistress and servant continued their conversation, Lan Bai arrived with a steaming plate of food. Mrs. Fu slowly bypassed the blackwood screen inlaid with cloud and bat-shaped mother-of-pearl pieces and left. Yuna returned shortly after, holding a box. Madame Eyre asked me to bring this over." Madame Liang gestured for Lan Bai to open it. Inside the box was a heavy gold chain. This was Madame Liang's dowry item, worn a few times after marriage, but then placed at the bottom of the box because it was too heavy. Not long ago, Madame Eyre had come to borrow it, saying that she needed it while playing mahjong with Madame Eyre. Madame Liang said, "I only found out after she mentioned it." Apparently, wearing a gold chain like this, fastened across the chest with a double strand, is currently in fashion. It's amazing what they come up with. Lan Bai smiled along. Then, Madame Liang added, but it seems the second branch is short on money. Madame Chen, the second lady, had great respect for her elder sister-in-law. Since her elder brother's passing, her sister-in-law had lived a secluded life. Apart from during festivals, they rarely crossed paths. Any matters were handled through trusted servants. When her sister-in-law sent word last night about meeting, she was quite surprised. Now, facing her in person, her doubts grew stronger. Madame Liang handed a box of sugar-coated rose candies to Madame Chen and said softly, "These rose candies inside were made by Lan Bai. Have a taste." Madame Chen smiled and said, "Sister-in-law still knows how to please people. I often tell Ah Hui to learn a thing or two from Lan Bai." Madame Liang smiled at this remark. "You appreciating her is her good fortune. Sister, we've been together in this family for many years, so I'll be straightforward. I've been bedridden for most of my adult life, with no sons or daughters. The only thing I worry about is my niece. She's had a tough life, so I want to entrust her to you." Madame Chen was taken aback and immediately straightened her posture. Madame Liang continued, "You know Lan Bai's temperament. After marrying a Fan, she will prioritize him and you above all else. Although the Liang family has no one left, our estate remains. As for my personal assets, they will also be left to Lan Bai." Madame Chen was so astonished that she couldn't speak. This reaction was expected by Madame Liang. "A Fan has grown up under my care. He is honest and kind, a good child whom I can entrust for a lifetime. Discuss it with your second son. If you agree, we'll proceed with this marriage. Although I'm frail, I'll ensure this marriage is conducted properly. If you disagree, consider this conversation never happened." With that, Madame Liang picked up a cup of tea to drink. After Madame Chen left, Madame Liang called Lan Bai out from behind the screen and said, "You like a Fan, don't you? Can't I see that? Madame Chen isn't a bad person, and a Fan has a soft heart. You and Ah Hui also get along very well. This marriage is considered a good match. Don't worry, the second branch will agree to it. Wealth of thousands of dollars would tempt anyone. When they divided the family property in the past, the first and second branches split it evenly. Over the years, the second branch had spent a lot in official circles after giving up their business. If the second son wanted to continue advancing, the days of spending money were still ahead. A few days later, Madame Chen brought a Fan's betrothal invitation. The betrothal invitation was made of high-quality red and green paper, pasted together in a V-shaped mount, with the words, "100 Years of Harmony," written on the cover. Madame Liang carefully examined the invitation, reminiscent of her own marriage more than 20 years ago. She hoped that Lan Bai and a Fan would have a good marriage and live peacefully to old age, unlike her. As a Fan was away studying, and there were no male relatives on the Liang family's side, they skipped the engagement step altogether. True to her word, Madame Liang spared no effort in preparing Lan Bai's dowry. She instructed Mrs. Fu and a finance clerk to procure items from Shanghai, including bedding, fabrics, and lacquerware from Fujian. She specifically instructed them not to worry about the expenses and to buy whatever useful new items they could find. This was all for a Fan's consideration. She had advised Lan Bai on how to get along with her husband. A wife inevitably had to accommodate her husband. To everyone's surprise, Mrs. Fu brought back a brass oil stove from Shanghai, along with stainless steel steamers. Madame Liang also spent 1,000 silver dollars on a complete set of rosewood furniture, including a mahjong table. The warehouse in Plum Hall was nearly bursting with goods from Suzhou, Jiangxi, silver utensils, bamboo products from Yiwu. The servants from the second branch often came to Plum Hall in their free time to marvel at the spectacle. Lan Bai was also allowed to go out. Ah Hui recommended a Russian barber shop and accompanied Lan Bai to get her hair done. They visited all the department stores in Hangzhou, buying fabrics, cosmetics, perfumes, and high heels. If Lan Bai hadn't been so timid, Ah Hui would have taken her to Shanghai for shopping. The wedding was set for December 16th, the coldest time in Hangzhou. Ah Hui suggested that Lan Bai make a silver-threaded silk cheongsam, along with a big red velvet one. They would add a mink coat on top, so she wouldn't feel the cold. Lan Bai hesitated and went to her aunt for advice. After Madame Liang agreed, she happily started making the clothes. As the wedding day approached, Lan Bai's heart was filled with mixed emotions, and she was quite worried. It wasn't about her own wedding. She hadn't met Xie Fan yet, but this was normal. After all, most women in the world didn't meet their husbands until after marriage. She considered herself much luckier than them. She worried about her aunt's health. Affected by her father's death, her aunt refused to see Western doctors and only allowed familiar Chinese doctors to treat her at home. But it was evident that her aunt's spirit was declining day by day. On the day of the dowry presentation, her aunt made an appearance. Her complexion was sallow, and the clothes she had just made half a month ago hung loosely on her. How could Lan Bai not worry? Over the years, her aunt's nurturing and love for her had yet to be repaid. On the evening of the 25th day of the 12th lunar month, the day before the wedding, Lan Bai slept very restlessly. She stared into the void, silently praying for her aunt. Although the room wasn't lit, it wasn't dark either, with the courtyard adorned with lanterns and decorations, casting light through the paper windows. Was all of this real? Lan Bai touched her racing heart through her nightgown. It felt like just yesterday she was gazing at Xie Fan in the crowd at the ball, and tomorrow she would be marrying him. The next day, Lan Bai woke up early and, upon seeing the clear sky, felt even more joyful. The makeup artist quickly arrived to prepare her. The threading of her face was painful but also brought a sense of anxiety and joy. After the makeup was done, she changed into her wedding clothes, feeling somewhat flustered. Finally, it was time to board the sedan chair. Although they could have taken a car, Lan Bai chose a sedan chair, still concerned about her aunt. She held a bouquet of flowers, with two young boys holding the veil behind her. Once she was seated in the sedan chair and the curtain was lowered, the sounds of gongs and drums outside began, creating a lively atmosphere. Amidst the music, Lan Bai's eyes suddenly welled up with tears. Eventually, they arrived at the wedding venue. After getting off the sedan chair, Lan Bai was supported by the maid of honor and stood on the left side of the hall. The maid of honor whispered, "Miss, look down and lower your head a bit more."
Lang Bi Com Li.
She then heard voices from the hall calling out repeatedly, "Please welcome the groom to the hall." Lan Bai held her breath. By the sixth call, Lan Bai realized something was wrong. She lifted her head and saw the guests whispering to each other. The maid of honor gasped in shock. For a long time, Xie Fan hadn't appeared. He had run away. Lan Bai couldn't recall how the wedding ended. The days of happiness were too short-lived, and her mind was in chaos. She felt like a puppet, being pushed by others in a direction she didn't understand. When she returned to Plum Hall, Yun and Mrs. Fu surrounded her, both shedding tears. Trembling amidst the tears, Lan Bai, like waking from a nightmare, asked, "Where's Aunt?" The tragedy wasn't just Xie Fan's fleeing. In these days, Madame Liang couldn't leave her bed and couldn't attend the wedding at the Silk Trade Guild. However, news of the incident reached her ears, and she passed away suddenly, leaving no last words. It was only after Madame Liang's death that Lan Bai learned from Mrs. Fu that her aunt had coughed up blood long ago. Knowing her time was short, she had made every effort to arrange everything for her niece. The newly made cheongsam was torn to shreds by Lan Bai. She changed into mourning clothes and opened the letter Xie Fan had left for her. It was delivered by Madame Chen and Shi Hui. Madame Chen wiped her tears with a handkerchief, cursing fate. Shi Hui hugged Lan Bai's shoulders and said, "To me, you are my sister-in-law." In the letter, Xie Fan explained everything. It turned out that he had never agreed to this marriage from the beginning. In his heart, he only saw Lan Bai as a sister from a relative's family. But he couldn't defy his parents' orders. He had been hiding in the school to avoid the wedding, contacting his family several times, hoping they would change their minds. Before the wedding, his father called the school, claiming his mother was seriously ill and asking him to come home quickly. It wasn't until Xie Fan returned that he realized he had been tricked. He thought there might still be a chance to change the situation, but his parents thought he would comply. It eventually reached a point of no return. At the end of the letter, he said, "The cycle of history spans 4,000 years, grinding human souls into dust. Sister Lan Bai, you should have your own beliefs and pursuits. The country is in crisis, and I intend to join the military, unwilling to let you be affected for life." It was now 1936. China was engulfed in turmoil, but within Plum Hall, everyone was united, isolated from the outside world. The Huangbei stopped in front of a 3-story Western-style house near Jing'an Temple. Shi Hui paid the fare and slowly got off, carrying his handbag. When she was a girl, Shi Hui quite liked Shanghai. She always felt that Shanghai was more modern compared to Hangzhou. Later, her wish came true. Hangzhou had been bombed by the Japanese several times, so for safety reasons, the Xia family moved to Shanghai. That was 9 years ago. A servant hurriedly approached her, looking embarrassed. Master came home and got really angry. Little C cried so much, he wouldn't even eat. Shi Hui remained expressionless, just saying she knew, then went upstairs to see her son. Sure enough, when her son saw Shi Hui, he burst into tears. Shi Hui secretly resented her husband as she hugged her son and took some osmanthus sugar from her handbag to feed him. "I got this especially for you. Is it sweet?" The child, innocent as he was, stopped crying but held onto Shi Hui's clothes tightly, unwilling to let go. Shi Hui let him be and sat down at the dressing table, taking off the bracelets on her wrist and the jade earrings in her ears. Little C was intrigued by the jade and wanted to play with it, but Shi Hui stopped his hand. She coaxed him gently, "Mommy's jewelry is not to be played with." As she spoke, her heart felt somewhat bleak. If they were still in Hangzhou, she would never have cared so much about these emerald jewels, let alone toys. She might have given them to the servants as a casual reward. At night, her husband returned home, reeking of alcohol, seeking intimacy. He mumbled words as he approached. Even the lowest whisper could be heard clearly in the quiet night. What he was murmuring about was clearly a woman's name, Cici, Cici. How ambiguous the syllables sounded between his lips. Shi Hui hated him to death. She turned on the table lamp, glaring at her husband's face in the light, wanting to slap him hard, but she restrained herself. Her gaze fell downward, and she noticed the wrinkled shirt and tie on her husband. There was a splash of bright red on the collar of the shirt. This position should have been where the face-sticking dance took place. She hated him so much that her eyes were filled with fierce resentment. If her father were still alive, if the Xia family hadn't fallen, how dare this man in front of her act like this? It was her husband who pursued her. When she first arrived in Shanghai, she met him at a ball, where she was greeted with enthusiastic pursuit. At that time, he was just a clerk at the military court, a country bumpkin who couldn't tell the difference between shark fin and vermicelli. Ignoring him, he still sent roses to her house. She nodded to the marriage proposal just to see if he was sincere. But now everything had changed. Her husband had transformed into an Air Force Major General in the government, forgetting how he used to climb the ranks in the officialdom, how her father had helped him, and how the antiques and jewelry in her dowry had ended up in the trousseaux of those official wives and mistresses. Both her and her maternal family had to rely on him to get by. Unconsciously, tears streamed down her face. She stepped down in slippers and looked out the French window at the deep blue sky and the crescent moon. She spent the night sleepless. Life had to go on. Shi Hui endured it, but her husband's arrogance grew stronger day by day. She had to go home and discuss with her mother. Madame Chen, her mother, sighed. Men in his position always attract women, and he is willing to look into the women outside, but under no circumstances should you have a child with them. That wasn't difficult to handle. Shi Hui also quickly received a message from the family driver Xiao Huang, who was also from Hangzhou and lived not far from the Xia family's old residence. Due to this relationship, Shi Hui would often send him gifts during the holidays. Xiao Huang soon replied. The deceased Liang, who held a high position, had a close relationship with a certain mistress. Shi Hui's heart trembled. She thought it was another woman from the Paradise Dance Hall, but she didn't expect her husband to be so unrestrained, even reaching into the inner chambers of the deceased. Shi Hui knew Liang, who had been transferred from Nanjing a few months ago. He had a prominent red nose and a protruding belly. Shortly after arriving in Shanghai, he was imprisoned and soon died. She asked Xiao Huang to accompany her to the Liang residence. After standing outside the Liang residence for a while, she made up her mind to ring the doorbell, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. Xiao Huang advised her again, "Madam, let it go. With your status, Is that kind of woman even worthy? The sound of a car approaching could be heard from afar, and the headlights shone brightly. Shi Hui retreated to the side of the French wudong tree next to the door. She couldn't explain why she retreated. Clearly, she had come to confront that mistress. A woman got out of the car, wearing a pomegranate red sheer cheongsam, her two round and white arms shamelessly exposed, drawing everyone's attention. Xiao Huang said, "Madam, that's her." As the woman walked gracefully, she suddenly glanced in their direction. With just a fleeting glance, Shi Hui's face changed drastically. Despite the long years that had passed, she recognized that face. Her sister, her playmate, the woman she once called sister-in-law, Lanbai. The woman lounged lazily on the sofa, holding a cigar between her fingers and skillfully exhaling smoke. She said, "The name Lanbai has not been used for many years. Nowadays, everyone calls me Cici." Shi Hui's face appeared hazy in the smoke. Back when her brother, Xiefan, regretted the marriage and fled, and their aunt suddenly passed away, everything happened too quickly. After the funeral of their aunt, Lanbai disappeared overnight. Her departure was much smoother than Xiefan's, without leaving a single word behind. She followed her mother to the main house to check things, while Yun Er and Fu Mama cried bitterly, making the scene unbearable. Later, people said they saw Lanbai in Nanjing, alone, with her appearance unchanged but devoid of any smiles. When the family sent people to look for her, those people lost their lives in Nanjing. In December 1937, the Japanese committed atrocities in Nanjing. The Xie family believed that Lanbai had perished. Her mother conducted Buddhist rituals, while her brother, filled with remorse, locked himself in his room and didn't eat or drink for days. When they finally met again, it was under such ridiculous circumstances. Shi Hui tried to force a self-deprecating smile, but the pain in her heart intensified when she moved her lips. Yet Lanbai wouldn't let her off easily. Zhao Junyan now lives in the garden house near Jing'an Temple. The layout inside is somewhat similar to the old Mei Hall. He took me there and said that if I was willing, I could become the mistress of the Western-style house. Shi Hui's nails dug deeply into her palms, her voice trembling. "Lanbai, I have never wronged you." Lanbai stared deeply at her, smiling. "Shi Hui, what nonsense are you talking about? Do you think I'm with Zhao Junyan to get back at the Xie family? Without Zhao Junyan, there would still be Li Junyan, Wang Junyan. In times of chaos, I'm just seeking a meal ticket from him. In fact, I've gained quite a lot from him." Her tone was mocking as she raised her left hand, where a pigeon egg-sized pink diamond sparkled. She continued, "You should go find Zhao Junyan. If he stops bothering me, I'll thank you. You should find out how many men are vying to be my intimate companions in this 10-mile foreign quarter." Before she finished speaking, Shi Hui's slap landed on Lanbai's face like lightning, causing her to turn her head sharply. When Lanbai turned back, a trace of blood could be seen at the corner of her lips. Shi Hui said, "Liang Lanbai, you are truly disgusting now. You have forgotten all the teachings of our aunt over the years. If she could see you in such a state, she wouldn't be able to rest in peace even in the underworld." Each word dripped with disappointment and resentment as she finished and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. She probably wished she could die. As Lanbai thought this, she suddenly let out a sigh, feeling her body go limp as she collapsed onto the sofa. She lowered her head, spinning her ring, and heard footsteps growing distant, while a man's voice sounded from above her head. "You're so straightforward. Miss Xia probably hates you to death now." Without lifting her head, Lanbai replied, "I've had enough of Shi Hui's reprimands today. It's best if you don't say too much." The man placed an envelope on the nearby armchair and took a seat. Almost simultaneously as he sat down, Lanbai swiftly got up from the sofa. She took the envelope and headed towards the bedroom without looking back. She firmly closed the bedroom door behind her, leaving the man sitting alone in the living room, bathed in light, outlining his slender figure and a face filled with melancholy in his features. The second time he saw Ouyang Lanbai, she wasn't a coquettish flower relying on men to achieve her goals. She was drifting in the cold, dirty lake waters, and she had jumped in herself. Fortunate and unfortunate. 10 days before the fall of Nanjing, the train station was crowded with thousands of people. Lanbai, carrying a small suitcase, managed to squeeze onto the platform ahead of the others. The train left Nanjing, departing towards a lifeline. Later, she arrived in Wuhu to change boats. It was already dark, and the boat showed no sign of departure yet, as they needed to wait until it was darker to avoid bombings. When the boat finally arrived, the crowd erupted and people rushed forward, breaking the gangplank. Many watched as the ship of hope left them behind for the afterlife. Darkness breeds evil, or perhaps evil people were lurking in the darkness to begin with. Lanbai, who fell behind, was bullied. She begged for mercy, offering all her assets stored in the Bank of America to the villain if he would spare her. Instead, she received a heavy slap, much harsher than the one Shihui gave her today. The villain didn't stop. After the ordeal, the villain abandoned Lanbai, and she attempted suicide by jumping into the water. However, she encountered several students clinging to driftwood for survival in the water due to the broken gangplank. They saved her, and before long, they actually managed to find a military transport ship. And he was on that military transport ship. Shifan heard about Lanbai's situation from his sister. For this reason, he specially rushed from Xi'an to Shanghai. Lanbai was once his nominal wife, and her shadow had lingered in his heart over the years. Lanbai had come to the Xie family long ago. She was about the same age as Shihui, and Xiefan had always regarded her as another younger sister, more obedient and introverted compared to Shihui. How could he marry his sister? At that time, the Japanese aggression was gradually intensifying, and the chaos in North China left no room for a peaceful school desk. Yet, the family seemed oblivious to the situation, as his father never brought up the state of affairs at home. He couldn't stand this atmosphere of willful ignorance, so he decided to stay at school and express his stance, but he didn't expect his parents to resort to deception against him. Young and impulsive, he handled things too rashly, leading to a tragedy. After leaving home, he joined the Air Force for training, partly out of a sense of national duty, but also with a bit of vanity, wanting to impress his father by flying in the sky. After flying for a few years, he could no longer bear it. He was afraid. Many of his friends from the military academy had died, and apart from the identity tags and fragments of aircraft, there was nothing left. With the help of family connections and his brother-in-law's efforts, he was discharged from the military and became an instructor at the aviation school in Xi'an, where he is today. In Shanghai, he saw Lanbai alive and well. As his sister had said, Lanbai now bore no resemblance to her past self. In Xi'an, there were many women like Lanbai, alluring and indulgent, but none of them seemed to have any discomfort. As he watched Lanbai from a distance, all the blood in his body seemed to chill. The man she was affectionately embracing was Shi Hui's husband. She smiled coquettishly and planted a kiss on Zhao Junyan's cheek. This scene deeply pierced Xiefan's eyes. He went to see his sister in a daze and asked her, "What do you plan to do about Zhao Junyan?" Shi Hui gritted her teeth. "I will never divorce. I won't give Zhao Tai's position to Xiao Sisi." She refused to call Lanbai by her name, clearly resenting her. Xiefan stayed in Shanghai for 2 days before returning to Xi'an. Staying in Shanghai reminded him of what he had witnessed, and he didn't want that. Zhao Junyan was unaware that his eldest uncle had quietly come to Shanghai for a visit. His recent thoughts had been consumed by work, and there were rumors that he might get a promotion. He was contemplating how to make some achievements. This, in turn, gave Shihui hope, thinking that Zhao Junyan's relationship with Xiao Sisi might have cooled down, and there might still be a chance for reconciliation between husband and wife. After all, they were legally married and shared a son. But late one night, Zhao Junyan returned home drunk. His hopes of promotion were dashed, and he was in a terrible mood. Just because Shihui hadn't served him hot tea promptly, he caused a scene at home, saying, "You, the daughter of a declining family, if you're unwilling to serve, then get lost. There are plenty of women outside waiting in line." Shihui revealed Xiao Sisi's pseudonym and sneered, "If you dare to do anything for her, I'll shoot you dead." The couple fought. Shihui scratched Zhao Junyan's face, and Zhao Junyan pushed her to the ground, stomping on her stomach with his feet. Zhao Junyan paid no attention to his wife on the ground, vented his anger, and climbed into bed to sleep. His son had already peeked through the crack in the door and, seeing his mother lying motionless on the ground, called his grandmother's house. When Chen arrived in a hurry, Zhao Junyan was still snoring in bed. She had to ask the servants to help take her daughter to the hospital. Xihui stayed in the hospital for more than half a month and lost a lot of weight. She was beaten, and she had completely given up on Zhao Junyan. With a hopeless heart, she said to her mother, "It's meaningless to continue like this. Let's just break up with him. My brother owes Xiao Sisi, and maybe it's heaven's will for me, his sister, to settle the debt." She asked her mother to take her grandson to buy tickets to Xi'an and went home to pack her belongings. As soon as she entered the house, she felt something was wrong. The door creaked open, and the courtyard was strewn with yellow leaves. Had the servants not cleaned up at all while she was away? Entering the hall, she found it equally filthy. A vague sense of foreboding crept into her heart. As she climbed the stairs, she heard voices from upstairs. She paused and listened carefully. It turned out to be Zhao Junyan and Xiao Sisi. Xihui wanted to leave, but Zhao Junyan's next words froze her in place. "We can't do without it. We're going overseas, and the more gold and silver, the better. She and her son can rely on her family. Even if they starve to death, it's their fate. Marry into a wealthy family, live like a wealthy person." All the blood in Xihui's body turned cold. She broke into a sprint, pushed open the bedroom door, and saw Xiao Sisi sitting on the edge of the bed, while Zhao Junyan was holding her jewelry at the dressing table. Zhao Junyan, surprised by his unexpected wife's return, frowned and said, "The higher-ups suspect me of treason and want to deal with me. From now on, you take the son and leave." He stuffed the jewelry into his pocket. Xihui screamed and rushed forward to snatch it. "That's mine." It was her last remaining property, on which she and her son would depend in the future. But she couldn't match Zhao Junyan's strength and was forcefully pushed back against the wardrobe by him. Suddenly, Xihui remembered there was something else in the wardrobe. She turned around, took out a hunting rifle, loaded it, and tremblingly pointed it at Zhao Junyan. "Get out or I'll shoot." Her husband, however, was quicker. As a deputy director and brigadier, he wasn't without skills. He pulled out a handgun from his pocket and aimed it at Xihui's heart. The bullet pierced her body, splattering a blossom of blood. Xihui glanced back to see Lanbai collapsing on the floor. In the blink of an eye, Lanbai had pushed herself away, taking the cold bullet intended for her. Another gunshot rang out, but this time, it was Zhao Junyan lying on the ground. The shot was fired by Xihui. The end. Zhao Junyan did not die. Government officials took him away, and he never contacted Zhao Hui again. However, Lan Bai was not as lucky as him. She died on the spot, without a chance to say her last words. After painstakingly saving some jewels, Zhao Hui bought a plot of land in Shanghai and buried Lan Bai there. Then, she left that place of heartbreak. In the winter of 1949, Zhao Hui received a letter. Upon opening it, she found that the paper had turned yellow, but the handwriting was still neat and tidy. "I once questioned fate, why it treated me so unfairly, why it abandoned me in my happiest moments, why it left me destitute and wandering, why it subjected me to humiliation in Wuhu. But I am still alive." Looking back at Nanjing, the ancient capital, smoke rises, and 300,000 innocent people were slaughtered. What was their fault? Zhao Fan wrote in his letter, "I must have my own beliefs and pursuits. Now I understand. I am willing to sacrifice my wealth, reputation, and even my life for my country. Even in death, I have no regrets." This was Lan Bai's handwriting. Finally, Zhao Hui understood that whether it was Zhao Junyan or Liang Changwan, there was a secret about Lan Bai, which she could not disclose. The sender used a false name. Zhao Hui had no way of knowing who he was. In fact, they had met when they were young. As Zhao Hui opened the letter, the sender had already appeared on a ship in the Indian Ocean. The sea breeze tousled his hair, and he was no longer young. He fell in love with Lan Bai at a party at the Zhao family's house, a love as distant as if from a past life. He was the son of an old friend of the Zhao family. Later, he joined the military but felt the corruption of the ruling party deeply. He then joined a new party that valued the people and was tasked with infiltrating the enemy. After saving Lan Bai on the transport ship, she was also inspired by him and became an underground worker. Later, he became her superior, passing on one task envelope after another to her. If given a chance to start over, he would not stand on the terrace and watch her leave. He would stop her when she turned around and greet her warmly. Would the outcome between them be different then?